Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Tyson in from Magnet Forensics, and this morning we'll be talking about our new product that hasn't been released yet, AXIOM Cloud. We've booked an hour, but this will probably only be about 30 or 40 minutes, so we'll get you out a little early. I'll kind of go through what AXIOM Cloud is, and I'll do a demo, and we'll go through some features of AXIOM Cloud, and then I'll take questions at the end. Feel free to enter your questions in the question box, and I'll try and answer as many as I can at the end of the webinar. So just a quick overview of my role at Magnet. I've been at Magnet for almost 6 years. I started off in engineering, working with the engineering team, working on IEF, and managing the engineering team around that. Then I moved into product management about 4 years ago. And product management, working with a lot of customers, understanding their challenges and how we can help and how we can get involved. So with AXIOM Cloud, AXIOM is now the most comprehensive and integrated digital forensics platform. So this means we pull data from a lot of different sources. If you're using AXIOM today or IEF, computer and mobile are staples in our product. And now cloud is an additional source. So AXIOM Cloud enables examiners to extract, analyze, and report on forensically relevant cloud services and social media networks. So what we've done with AXIOM Cloud is expanded AXIOM to take in cloud data, to connect to services using user credentials, and download data for a user account. And part of this endeavor from us, we've been focusing on forensically relevant cloud services. So we understand that you're not going to get credentials to every user account, but for the ones that you do get access to, we want to pull the most data and pull relevant information to help you investigate that account. So part of AXIOM Cloud is about finding more cloud evidence. So you can see here, this product isn't released yet, and here's some of the services that we support, but we're very quickly expanding these services. So you can see Facebook, Instagram, Microsoft / OneDrive, and Office 365, iCloud, email accounts, Google, Twitter, and Dropbox. So that's what we have right now, and we're obviously expanding that. But more than that, we actually take all that, when we acquire our cloud evidence from whatever sources, so if you look at Google Drive or Dropbox, a user could store any type of file in there. So what we are doing with our cloud evidence is we're rerunning it through our computer artifacts and our mobile artifacts. So from our service perspective, we have a handful of services that you connect to, but we're running it through all of our industry-leading carving and parsing artifacts. So you'll find that no matter what they're storing up in their cloud accounts, we'll be able to parse out that data. We've had situations where in our beta program where users have found, the user has backed up their Skype DB to Google Drive. WhatsApp has a backup service built right into the app that backs up to your Google Drive or iCloud. So often you'll find a lot of different data from mobile and computer actually in the cloud, and it's important to run those artifacts so you can discover more. So preserve and collect. Office 365 is becoming extremely popular, especially in corporate environments. A lot of companies are moving to using the hosted Office 365 cloud service for email, OneDrive, SharePoint, etc. So AXIOM Cloud actually preserves content in OneDrive as well as Exchange email and captures the forensically sound metadata. So the challenge that we're seeing in the industry around corporate and Office 365 is that a lot of tools out there, and Microsoft's got their own built into Office 365 called Security Center, but they're mainly geared around e-discovery and sometimes don't capture the forensic metadata properly. That's where we see we added a lot of value there, because we understand what's needed from a forensics perspective around the metadata. We've done a lot of work to ensure that we're preserving as much as we can to help the investigation. Office 365 is one area that we actually see AXIOM Cloud expanding more into. We're actually working with a bunch of clients who are recently adopted Office 365 in their environments, and we're working to understand how we can help and how we can pull more relevant data to aid those investigations. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the cloud acquisition capabilities that we've built are built right into AXIOM. So it's built on the AXIOM platform and leverages everything that you get today in AXIOM. And I'll show you a demo because I think that shows the use cases a lot better than these slides. If you haven't used AXIOM, the demo will kind of go over some basics as well as some more advanced features as well. So visualizing, this is something that AXIOM Cloud does natively in AXIOM, locate and visualize cloud-based evidence. So all the views that you're used to, world map, timeline, your cloud evidence will go on those views alongside your computer and mobile evidence. And we see a lot of power in this. So if you've got the computer of a suspect, an image of their computer, potentially a mobile phone, and some cloud accounts, you can put those all in one case and all in one product and have your evidence viewed all and examined. Then it's really easy to see where the power of that comes in, where you can draw connections between data stored locally on their hard drive as well as in the cloud. In situations around child exploitation material, pictures, videos being shared, having videos on a computer hard drive and finding that with AXIOM is one thing, but finding that they've synced those same pictures and videos to the cloud and being able to make those connections with AXIOM drastically changes the investigation. And we're trying to enable drawing connections between that data in many ways. So in this case, I've got an example of world map, and we had one of our beta customers pull a Gmail account, and we pull all the attachments for the account as well, and they found that all the pictures that were transferred in Gmail still had EXIF data, and those pictures from Gmail attachments were showing up on the world map. So it's just one real example of how we take all of that same data and run it through the same AXIOM carving engine and visualization tools that you're used to. If you haven't used AXIOM, if you're an IAF customer, a big difference in AXIOM is the artifacts are fully indexed and searchable. So you can do a keyword search on artifacts within a few seconds. It's much faster, and this is no different from the cloud data that we pull. So as we pull cloud data, we index it, and you can see here I did a search for the word Dropbox, and we've pulled up the words in a PDF and there's also a preview there as well. So you can see here on the left-hand side some of the matching results that had the word Dropbox, but you'll see that a lot of the artifacts are computer artifacts. So being able to pull Excel documents, PDF documents, and things like that. So lastly, for the slides, sharing results. So we know that a lot of our customers use Portable Case to share information with other stakeholders in the investigation, whether it's attorneys, investigators, detectives, and things like that. So naturally, the cloud evidence that you pull using AXIOM Cloud can be packaged up into Portable Case. And this can actually be tied in with all your computer and mobile evidence as well. So if you tag a bunch of items from their computer, from their mobile device and their cloud account, you can put those all in one package, and it's the same Portable Case that your stakeholders are used to looking at. So all that evidence is in the same viewing platform. We think that's very powerful. The people you work with, including yourselves, don't need to learn a separate platform to review cloud evidence. It fits right in with the computer and mobile. So I'm going to go into a demo because I think that's the best way to show off some of these features. And again, if you have questions, you don't need to save them till the end. Just fire them off in the questions box. If if I can answer them in line, I will, or I'll answer them at the end. Let me just switch over to Axiom Process. Okay, so I've got Axiom Process here. If you haven't used Axiom before, fairly simple. I want to create a new case at the top. I'm running out of disk space on this drive, but it shouldn't be an issue right now. Enter your case details, so your case number, where you want to store the case, and your acquired evidence as well, and some other details here. So I'll leave that for now. I'll go to the evidence sources. So you can see here, again, if you're an Axiom user, Cloud is just an evidence source. We plug it right in with our computer and mobile. At this point, I could actually choose computer and load a computer image right here. So you'll see I've got a computer image, and I can add Cloud as well. So for Cloud, I'll click this, and I'll acquire. I have proper search authorization to access the target's information. This is just a little checkbox here. You can enter a warrant number if you've got it. It just validates that you have the right authorization to use these Cloud features. So today, like I said, Axiom Cloud hasn't been released yet. We'll be releasing very soon. We don't have an exact release date yet, but it will be very soon. It's a matter of weeks, not months at this point. And what we do right now is, if you have the username and password of the account, that's how you can sign in. We are looking at other options, you know, token extraction from computer and mobile devices. But at this point, you'd require the username and password for the account. So I'm going to log in to a Google account. So I'll hit sign in on Google. And I've got a test account here that I will sign into. So you can see here, it's a Google sign-in screen, and you'll get a similar sign-in screen for most other services here. So you'll see that Axiom wants to access, you know, Gmail, Drive, photos and videos, and things like that. So I'll allow that, and that will take you to the next screen where you can actually break down what you want to acquire from that account. So if you only want their Gmail, then you can do that. I'm just going to leave all of them. And this gives you the ability to kind of filter down whether it's a search warrant that you have, or just in general saving space. Maybe you only want to pull their Gmail, but you can actually filter down on what you want to acquire there. I'll hit next. So you can see it's signed in. You know, we try and pull some information around last activity and account size. We can't always do it for every type of piece of data, but we do our best here. I'm going to quickly jump and answer this question because I think it's very relevant, and we've spent a lot of time working on it. There was a question around multi-factor authentication. And today in Axiom Cloud, again, the product hasn't been released yet, but we have multi-factor authentication working for every single service you see here, including iCloud. That's something that we've spent a lot of time on because we know it's becoming more and more relevant with people using multi-factor authentication. So if you sign into one of these accounts and that user has multi-factor authentication turned on, you will, after you enter the password, you'll get a window to enter the code that gets either text message to the suspect's device, emailed, or notified on the device. So we can't get around bypassing, we can't bypass multi-factor authentication, but if you do have the suspect's device or other accounts in your possession, you can take that code that gets sent there and enter it right into Axiom. So I'll sign into one more account just to show you a different flow here. So I've got Microsoft account. So you'll see here, we've got just a test account. And for Microsoft, this will work on Outlook.com, Office 365, Hotmail, Microsoft Live, any Microsoft email service that the user might be using. Oops. So I'll enter the password. I'll sign in. So you can see here, I've got OneDrive and I've got email messages. Again, this would work for Office 365 as well. So I'll select both and hit next. I won't sign into any more services, but the flow is very similar for all of them, and they each have, different artifacts. When I hit next, you'll see that we allow you to filter these services by date. So you can set a custom date range, or starting on a date into the future, and this can help you reduce the data that you're pulling in terms of size, but also adhere to any search warrants where you may have, strict terms where you can only pull the last month's worth of data or something like that. So you can do that here. I'm just going to leave it at all dates for now. So you can see I've got a computer image, and now I've got my Cloud Google, my Cloud Microsoft account loaded in. In terms of processing, you can use all the same processing features, adding keywords to be searched, calculating hashes, and tag files with matching hash values and things like that. So you can leverage all these Axiom features as well, even picture categorization in terms of Project Vic or child exploitation material. From the artifact screen, I've got my standard computer artifacts for the computer image. We've got a cloud artifact section now. So for the services that you have signed into, here you can see I've only signed into 2 accounts. I can actually break down the artifacts even more. So on the evidence sources, when I connected to the account and pick the things I want to pull, that gives you control over what data you pull. So you can pull Gmail and preserve it in our image, but you can choose to not process Gmail so it doesn't end up in your case. So a bit of a distinction there, but this is how it works on this screen. So I've got OneDrive, Microsoft Mail. You can see here Google Connected Apps, Google Passwords, really interesting artifacts. So it'll tell you what apps, Google allows you to sign into certain apps using your Google account, and this will actually list the apps that you've connected to your Google account. Google devices will list all the, mainly Android, but just devices that have connected to their Google account. And Google Passwords will pull all the saved usernames and passwords for accounts that they've chosen to save in that. So very common with people who have Android phones or use the Chrome browser. If they're saving their passwords for the websites they're logging into, it's very likely you'll pull that. So it can be very beneficial if you do have their Google account to run this artifact and find more username and passwords that you can use to log into other accounts. So that's something that's really interesting. After that, I can hit Analyze Evidence. I won't do it here, just in the interest of time. But I'll show you a completed case that I have in Examine here. So as you can see here, I've got a bunch of evidence. Now this case was only a cloud acquired evidence. So you can see here that we pull a lot of artifacts just from the cloud accounts. The cloud section will contain a lot of the cloud data that you're expecting, but all of the other sections are those computer and mobile artifacts that we're running on top of the data that you're pulling. So you can see here, I'll show you an example. We have 3 iCloud backups that were pulled. They'll tell you what phone it was and a bunch of other details around the device. But we take those iCloud backups and we reprocess them using our mobile artifacts. So if I go to the chat section, you're going to see Facebook Messenger, iOS SMS, WhatsApp, and WeChat, things like that. So we are running all of our mobile artifacts, again, Wi-Fi profiles, iOS notes, call logs, on that iCloud backup. And with iCloud, it's really interesting because there's a lot of applications are now choosing whether or not they want to be in the iTunes backup. So when you do an acquisition using Axiom, Acquire, or any other mobile acquisition tool, and you're getting an iTunes backup for an iOS device, sometimes apps like WhatsApp, Skype, don't store their data in there and you can't access it. We're finding with iCloud that some of those applications are actually stored in iCloud. So things like, Fitbit or Uber often don't end up in iTunes backups, but are stored in the iCloud account. So quickly showing you here Cloud Dropbox files. So we'll show you all the files that were stored in their Dropbox. And you can see the details of that picture. Again, all that metadata that's important to preserve, as well as the preview. And again, if it's an RTF or a PDF, you can also go to the documents section and see those as well. So if I go to the PDF documents, you can see getting started with Dropbox. This was obviously stored in their Dropbox account. You can see some of the metadata and the source here. So I'll jump down to Gmail. So in the coming versions of Axiom, we're actually going to have a few more features on helping you draw connections between the cloud data and local data or mobile phone data as well. So that's something to look out for, and we are trying to build up how each of these artifacts are related to each other. So I have an example email here. Again, it shows a preview of the email, the content, as well as previews of any attachments of that email. So you can see there's an Excel spreadsheet that was attached. You can see that here, excelbook.xlsx, and the metadata associated with the email as well. So that's just Gmail. You can see often we'll extract text for you, so you can see the plain text of the email, but we'll also show you an email preview of what the email looked like in their Gmail account, and obviously the header information and details. Google Photos, again, just photos of what they took with their phone. If there is EXIF data in this information around geolocation, we will show that on the world map. So if I jump to the world map view, you'll see that there's a couple artifacts here. There's Uber. So you can see here that we have some Uber data where they took Uber or requested an Uber account ride. Jumping back to the column view, you'll see we've got Twitter direct messages as well as Twitter tweets, so we can access that information as well. And I'll show the searching as well. So like I mentioned, I'll search for Dropbox. You'll see that fairly quickly it pulls up all the Dropbox information, whether it was an artifact or something that mentioned Dropbox. You can see that these pictures came from their Dropbox account just by searching for Dropbox. Filter this out. And like I mentioned, I can take any one of these artifacts, but I'll just choose Cloud for now and create a portable case. And that will create a portable case, items in current view, of those cloud artifacts. And I can share that with anyone. It will give them Axiom Examine, so what you see here, as well as the case. So they can just open that up and review evidence on any machine that they want. Tagging and filtering work just the same way, so I can pick a bunch of files, right-click, and bookmark these, and then I can bookmark by, or filter by the bookmark tag. So again, if you've used Axiom, these are all very familiar features, and like I said, it all just fits in. The cloud data works just like computer evidence. So that's kind of a quick demo. I will turn it over to questions if people have questions, or if there's certain things that you want to see, just fire them off in the questions box here. So there's a few questions coming in. So we answered the question about multi-factor authentication. So there's a good question around Facebook pictures, and just I'll kind of try to answer that generally because it's something that's coming up, or that will be coming up more and more. The question was around issues around EXIF data. So when people are uploading pictures to Facebook, for example, Facebook will strip the EXIF data before they post it, and that's so for security reasons, so they don't have people looking at your pictures and finding out where you took them and things like that on the geo coordinates. So right now, the pictures we pull from Facebook are the sanitized versions. We haven't found a way to access the original versions. So in a lot of social media services where people are posting it to share with their friends, a lot of that EXIF data will be stripped. But like I mentioned, like things like Gmail, Office 365 email, the EXIF data stays intact. So we found in Gmail that the geo coordinates were still there. What Facebook artifacts are currently supported? So again, great question. We'll pull the Facebook timeline as well as Facebook Messenger. So the private conversations that they've had over Facebook Messenger, we can pull that information as well as their Facebook timeline. Again, we're always open to understanding, the needs of our users. If there are other artifacts that you have that you'd like to pull, please let us know, and that's something that we can look at. There's a question around release date and price. So like I said, we don't have an official release date just yet. At this point, it's probably a matter of weeks. And we haven't settled on pricing yet. So we'll keep you posted on those details. And yeah, in general, we're from a pricing perspective, looking at trying to be fair. The cloud data is changing frequently, and we're having to maintain a lot of software there to ensure that we're still pulling the latest data. But we want to be fair to our users as well. So that's something that we're working on. So there's a question around head-to-head comparison against competitor products. X1 Social Discovery. We don't have any head-to-head comparisons just yet. We don't. From our beta users that have been using this software, they've been really happy with what Axiom has pulled, especially around the metadata. And that's where we're hearing a lot of feedback from our users that we're pulling metadata that is relevant to their forensic investigations, and we're preserving that information properly. So in general, we like to work with our users to make sure that we're meeting their needs and focus on making sure users are happy with what they're getting. So there was a question around the full list of services that we support. It's a fairly long list. I won't go through the entire list, but I'll give the high level. Like I mentioned before, Facebook, Instagram, iCloud, Twitter, Microsoft, which covers kind of the Office 365 suite. We don't have SharePoint just yet. So out of the 365 suite, we don't have a SharePoint in the product just yet, but it's something that we're looking at. Google, so Google's a big beast. You kind of saw the artifacts there. Actually, I'll just bring that back up. If I just jump back to here, you'll see Gmail, Google Activity. Google Activity is an interesting one because it shows a majority of their Google account activity. So things like, if they opened an app on their phone, sometimes that gets logged there. Using Google Home, searching for things, looking at locations on a map, a lot of that information is there. And then Google Connected Apps, as I mentioned, devices, Drive, passwords, photos, and timeline location. So what they looked at in Google Maps. And then again, Dropbox, we'll pull all the files from Dropbox, and we talked about Facebook. Okay. Any last questions? Oh. Actually, great question. There's a question around integration of, webpage saving capabilities. That's something that we're looking at as well. With the cloud constantly changing, and privacy, security, trying to block forensic tools out of accessing some information, we are looking at other options like web page scraping and web page recording. So, we have a product called Webpage Saver that's free on our website, but we hope to build a few more capabilities into this product to be able to capture and preserve web pages and make them searchable as well. Okay. Any last questions? Okay. Like I said, we'll keep you posted on release dates and pricing and things like that. We're really excited about this new version of Axiom, and we're getting really close. So if you do have any other questions, reach out to me. I'll type up my email here on this slide, and you can see it. Happy to answer any questions via email. So that's my email there. You can fire off any questions that you may have. And again, thanks for joining our webinar today.